Kina, I like how you broke it down the way you did by organization with the and paternalism discussion thread. It starts off with a 3-year-old girl with a subjective section that was brought into the ER by neighbors because she had been sick for a week and seemingly was not getting better. Her symptoms included difficulty breathing, fever, and pale complexion. The girl's parents are extremely religious and allowed the neighbors to bring her to the ER, yet changed their minds later on about receiving medical treatment for the child. Sakina, I really like how you organized this. Then with the objective section, this we know the parents only have a fifth grade education. With strong religious beliefs, that medical treatment is a blockade to entering heaven. This case most definitely presents an ethical dilemma between and involving the child's best interests and the parent's religious autonomy with a power struggle between the two, as in your reference of Brian Sanders and Kaplan 2020 Watch Paternalism as well. That video also giving some information. The child has not received medical attention for approximately a week, despite having a fever, pale skin, and labored breathing. To me, as in I agree with you, but I actually had a situation like this to where I was told I was being having my personal beliefs and being too biased to where it was interfering with the decision making to where I was told I was not quite right. But again, the 3-year-old girl was diagnosed with the flu, which in my mind that could become a very exaggerated and severe case to where it could be life threatening. The flu is it could start off as a small thing, and it could, like many other illnesses, it could turn something big. So I'm pretty much right in the lines with you, but I'll show you kind of how I explain how the definition of in the process is a certain way to where I still show my belief, but I was kind of have to go around things, so to speak. Um, Influenza, which is treatable. Then you included assessment. The 3-year-old has a significant but treatable condition. Like you say, however, the refusal of the parents to treat the child places her at risk of harm or possibly death. I feel as well, inevitably, that could be prevented. There are most definitely conflicts between parental rights and the child's right to have a healthy life. I personally side with my strongest convictions with having the child stay in the hospital against the parents' wishes as well, being that their being is a lot smaller, they're more susceptible, their immune system isn't as strong because they're not fully grown. So definitely, it doesn't hurt but to stay in the hospital, regardless of your religious beliefs. There's religious hospitals, or at least have a caretaker at home. But really, the hospital is the best setting for her at that time. But between this is again, but between the code of ethics and the parents' rights, she would be released, given the set of circumstances. And really, the doctor would have the power in the decision. Feel like with more evidence, and sadly enough, of there being some other kind of case, or if it seemed like they were being irresponsible with having the child back, then we could really take direct action and manners into our hands of getting the child removed. Removed. But I actually had a passionate pleading in public of this nature about this and got condemned for it. I emphasize what we could do is that there is the possibility of medical, or again, now the initial step that we can take without going over ourselves is medical neglect. But really, I felt just directly taking taking manners and just advocating and reaching out to whoever we have to be and doing whatever we had to do to get that child, directly making it a note, and doing whatever we had to get the child removed was the best method. But the recording and the notes of the records and entering in the records medical neglect, that is a direct action that we can take. That's a little bit more minor, but it can lead to something bigger. So that's definitely a step we want to get noted. The plan, as I like that you included, was the recommendation, which I also believe was imperative. It would be to keep the child for medical care at the hospital until fully healed. I also would consult a team at the hospital for aftercare, like you had mentioned, and follow up, and continue monitoring the situation at least for a couple weeks to make sure the family is not doing anything that's puts the child in jeopardy, and to make sure nothing like this happens again. With it including tactics on how to support the child, keeping it in our forethought, the well-being of the child, trying to bear in mind the family's beliefs as well, which can all be possible, which we can all do at the same time. I definitely as well would inform Child Protective Services to really observe and continue to monitor the situation and conduct investigations to see if anything else is afoul. I would try to balance showing cultural and spiritual respect as well. It's a little bit of a tug and pull in retrospect of what we're trying to do and our responsibilities and working ethically and trying to do what's best for the for the client, as well as not stepping over our technical and our legal boundaries, which is, so to speak, an art that we're going to have to learn. So I would try to balance these things while still defending and explaining the reasoning with keeping central emphasis on the child's right to health, and like as you provided by the video, which also has some background, watch paternalism, ND. But I feel like even if we kind of speak to the parents and really kind of open their eyes up to why we're so alarmed and show that we are bringing, um, respecting their rights and to their belief system, that might allocate us to working a little bit more fluently and efficiently and actually trying to get done what we're trying to get done. But then if they kind of went against that, that's when we could directly say, okay, there's definitely something like they're so bent against us trying to help this child and protect this child, and then we can go from there. So, Sakina, it's hard because, like I mentioned, I took the national passionate stand, and again, it's saying you then proceed from from that event. But fully advocating for the child, I took the passionate stand and was told in a similar scenario that related very much to this case that I was violating the parents' rights and being biased. So it really is a fine line. And we honestly, at all times, whether right or wrong, even though most likely we're more right than not, at all times we have to analyze to an extreme amount and observe, and then work with other disciplines and really navigate and kind of walk a very balanced line, so to speak. That's very hard, but we have to do it. And then work with other disciplines until we have solid, concrete proof of their of wrongdoing. It's sad it's like that, but it's depending on severity. But regardless, we can still make a really good case if something happens. If somehow something happens to her again, with having her totally removed from the home. In answering the question, how do we as social workers find balance with belief systems and advocacy for our clients? I'll say it like this. I try to place myself outside myself, if that makes sense. I sort of a sort of bar chart with me working up a half and working in unison of my belief and moral system, while, while to a somewhat higher degree, and still knowing legally I have a responsibility and contextually, unless very apparent proof that there are rights and decisions that underlie that there are rights and decisions that underlie the parents' rights until any new circumstances arise. We are bound to these terms. So the parents are basically in control at the present moment. But that's how I would explain it. It's sort of a puzzle or a cube, really depending on the set of circumstances, is what we go by, and opens us up and opens us up to how freely we can work. So that's why the social work field is so difficult and it's very complex. The position we're in and the duty we're given. But in knowing that thing and knowing that yes, we always want to do our best and we're so passionate, but not to hold it against ourselves that we can only work in this sphere that our job becomes easier and we're knowing that we're doing everything we can. So Sakina, I really enjoyed your post. I'd like to leave you a Bible verse that really speaks on the situation and the same stance I took with you and yours. It is Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. Proverbs chapter 31, lines 8 through 9. It instructs individuals to advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves, especially the destitute and vulnerable, and to ensure fair and just treatment for those who need it. It's Proverbs 31, 8 through 9, reference sharebible.com. This is the actual verse. The verse reads, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute." Sakina, I feel like this Bible verse really fits the post well, and I really enjoyed your post. And I thank you.